Hello, my name is Jorge Cisneros, and this is for the Didactic for English Teaching, and this is the gallery walk. I'm going to explain the I'm going to explain the competency-based language teaching. Competency-based language teaching is a framework. It's a framework for language teaching. CBLT is focused on what should be able to do. CBLT is a combination of skills, abilities to perform in real life situations, and I'm going to explain this in a keep 'em. Knowledge, understanding, and experience. Okay, the approach is the theory of language and learning, the CBLT, like I explained before. The objectives, syllabus, activities, roles. We have roles of the student, of the learner, and my person, the teacher. Okay, let's get started. And I'm going to respond some questions that are involved in this topic. Okay, the theory of language and learning. The major basics CBLT is the functional and international perspective on the nature of the language, which means the language learning always need to be connected to the social context it is used in. Therefore, language is seen as a medium of interaction and communication between people and a society. Like I said before, in a social context, it is going to be used every day in your life. But who want to achieve specific goals and purposes? This especially applies to situations in which the learner or the students, this is the role I'm going to explain, and has to fulfill a particular role with language skills which can be predicted or determined for the relevant context. In connection to this, competency-based language teaching shares the behaviorist view of learning that certain life encounters call for certain kinds of language. And the first question that I said before is, how did the method or approach originated or was originate? Okay, competency-based language teaching, the CBLT, focuses on what learners are expected to do with the language. And what learners are expected to do with the language. This approach emerged in the United States in the 70s and can be described as defining educational goals in terms of precise, measurable descriptions of the knowledge, skills, and behaviors students should possess at the end of the course of studying, middle school, university, or high school. Even high school. And the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary defines competence as the ability to do something well, and as a skill that you need in a particular job or for a particular task. Like we were explaining together, like this is for your life. Your whole life is going to be used this method. And then we have this question that says, what are the underlying principles of the method or approach? Competency-based language teaching is an application of the principles of competency-based education. It concerns accountability, management, and quantification. The CBLT focuses on the competencies and outputs. And if teaching competencies becomes and in itself, stakeholders become the object, for example, rather than subjects of the educational process. On the other hand, we have the competences are seen as tools to enable learners and to act for change in their lives. Critical thinking will be promoted. And after a brief story, this article produces when I was reading and writing this article says something particular, like after a brief story, competency-based language teaching will be followed by how it will be evaluated. And finally, the pros and cons of this kind of instructions are elaborated in details. What are the teacher roles? Well, the role of the teacher in a competency-based framework is not defined by specific terms. The teacher has to provide positive and constructive feedback in order to help the student to improve their skills. This is a rule of life, and she or he, the teacher is going to explain to he or she. She needs to be aware of competencies. She needs to be aware of the learner. Needs to so that everybody feels become welcome in class. What is the student role? The role of the learner in competency-based framework is to decide whether the competences are useful or relevant for him or her. This shows that the learner has an active role in the classroom, which is underlined by the fact that the students are expected to perform the skills taught. And the competences the students will learn are clearly defined and presented on the public so that the learner knows exactly what needs to be learned, and which purpose has to use the competences. It is vital that every competency is mastered one at a time, because this makes sure that the learners know how to have already learned and what the next steps will look like. And the main goal of the learner competency-based language teaching is to be able to adapt and transfer knowledge from one setting to another. We are like the first base on the students when they're on school, and this keeps on the next question. Is there any negative aspect about using it with children? Well, while competency-based education sounds like a dream for many students in life, for many, not for others, but not all of them are cut for it. The students must be self-directed learners, must have some experience or at least an immense passion for the chosen field of study. And they must be motivated to succeed. This is the first rule of life. You have to be motivated to succeed in your life. And everything you are going to achieve in your life, and in your job, at your school, friends, family, or your home with your wife, and they need to put in the necessary time and some substantial effort to earn the degree they want. Not just check the box of attending some courses. You have to put some mind on it. Put that on mind every day. And if you have ever been a student, you know how hard these things can be at times. And the next question is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of the method approach? Well, there are several advantages of a CBLT. First, CBLT focuses on language as a tool for communication rather than on language knowledge, as in itself. Like the first word we said, this on language as a tool for communication, and it promotes responsible and accountable teaching. This referring to benefits of CBE, Norton says that in CBE learners confidence and enhanced because they can achieve competencies requiring the performance in real life, like we were saying before. But another benefit is that the structure in CBE is a facilitator and more training time is the better at working with learners individually or in small groups rather than the presenting lectures. Richards and Rogers mentioned four advantages for a competencies approach. The first one is the competencies are specific and practical and can be seen to relate to the learners and needs to interest. The second one is the learner can judge. Just the learner can judge whether the competencies seem relevant and useful. And the number three is the competencies that will be taught and tested in class or in life are specific and public. Hence, the learner knows exactly what needs to be learned. And competence can be mastered one at a time, so the learner can see what has been learned and what remains to be learned. And we already have this syllabus, and the syllabus for a competence is so clearly different because this differs from a traditional approach to developing instead of selecting topic or field of knowledge that one is going to teach. And they're choosing concepts and knowledge and skills that constitute the field of knowledge. But the competency-based language teaching is designed not around the notion of subject knowledge, but around the notion of competency. Therefore, the focus on how the students can use this language instead of their knowledge about the language. Have some point out that the teacher provides a list of competencies which the course is going to deal with, and these are typically required of students in life role situations. And then we have the last one, the learning activities and light. The learning activities used in CBLT can be described as systematically designed activities to achieve a certain competence. These activities are real-world tasks with maybe related to any domain of life, but especially to survival-oriented and work-related situations in new environment. Typical areas for which such competency based activities have been developed and are, for example, a job application, a job interview, or work schedules. All these areas can be described as a collection of units of competencies. Which consists of a specific knowledge, thinking process, attitudes, and perceptual and physical skills. This is all. Thank you very much.